Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for considering to watch my presentation on Leadership Introduction Presentation for Business 301, Spring 2021. Okay, so for the first slide, I will be starting off with the ocean model. So for the first personality type, openness, I did land on the 49th percentile, which essentially means that I do not lean on either side. And I would say I can be creative, I can be open to new ideas, and I can be open to new experiences. In contrast, I can also have the ability to be down to earth, to be practical, and to be more grounded on the way that I act and the way that I think. For conscientious, I am on the 98th percentile, which essentially indicates that I am organized, I am functional, and I am achievement oriented. I would say this holds true. I have always been a very responsible person. I tend to finish the things that I started, whether they are stressful or whether they are hard. I am organized and I tend to put deadlines for myself. For the third one, for extroversion, I am on the ninth percentile, which I hold this to be extremely true. I am much more of an introvert and I am very reserved. I am much of a thinker rather than a talker, and I tend to be very shy when I first meet someone. And it does take quite of a time for me to open up to someone. So for the first personality type, agreeableness, I was on the lower spectrum on the 34th percentile, which I found this to be both on the book and in the assessment to be more of a negative. However, I did find some articles where they indicated that there is some downsides on being too agreeable. For instance, people who are more agreeable, they tend to want to keep the peace, especially when making a very difficult decision, just to be liked and to not create conflict. I believe the reason I lean more towards the lower spectrum of agreeableness is due to the fact that I do work as a dispatcher, and oftentimes I do find myself having very rude customers and often finding myself in stressful times. When I first started working there, it was very difficult for me to work in that environment. Many times I feel like I did not have the guts to do certain decisions or work a case out. However, it was essential for me to grow thick skin and become more tough in that time frame. And in order to work in that specific environment, I think that it's not much of a negative depending on the situation. And lastly, for the last personality type, um, I got a 14, I was in the 14th percentile, sorry. And essentially this indicates that I am calm in tense situations. Again, I think the reason being is that in my job, I do have to remain calm. Even when a customer is yelling at me through the phone and panicking, it is my job to remain calm and to help them as much as I can. And again, to provide a good customer service to that customer. For my StrengthsFinder results, my top two strengths that I got was responsibility and harmony. Following along is significance, restorative, and individualization. Something that I did notice here from the domain key box is that I did check almost all of them off besides strategic thinking. In fact, in execution, I had two traits, which includes responsibility and restorative. Influence, then I only had one, which was significant. And for relationship building, I also have two traits, which is harmony and individualization. Also, something that I did notice was that some of my traits that I scored high in the StrengthsFinder assessment, I also scored high in my Ocean assessment, which something that I realized here is that for responsibility, I had scored high, and also in my Ocean assessment, it was the top one that I scored high as well. So I believe that these five strengths that I have are essential when being in a team. My biggest being that I take action and ownership in what I will do and what has been assigned to me. My second strength being harmony. I do not enjoy conflict. I am a peacemaker and I find solutions to any unresolved problems. I have the ability to adapt well to problems and again, solving what is wrong and bringing a solution to it. Lastly, I have the ability to want to seek out unique qualities. I am able to figure out different people, how they work productively together. The first approach that I chose for my leadership style is empathy. The reason I chose empathy is because I believe that empathy is a vital component that every manager should have. As a manager, we need to be aware that employees are not robots and that they are human beings. As managers, we are required to be able to understand what they're going through, if they're going through any stressful situation in their personal life, or rather, understand why they feel unmotivated at work. It is vital to take employee circumstances into consideration. When employees feel understood and like they are being heard, they will make better decisions and be more engaged at work. The next approach that I would take is achievement-oriented approach. Although we should take people into consideration, this specific approach still manages to look out for the people, but at the same time it also looks out for the well-being of the company. Still being able to maintain and achieve those goals that are met is important, and to keep employees motivated at the same time. This is especially crucial if we know the abilities that they have in order to achieve certain tasks. When one believes in them, it can really motivate them to work harder and overall make them feel like they are important to the organization. Lastly, my last approach would be transformational leadership. Although I don't consider myself being charismatic, I do believe that when one is leading, there needs to be inspiration, intellectual stimulation, and there needs to be consideration of them as well, in order for employees to work more effectively. This again ties to empathy, having communication with employees and offering support if needed. This also challenges them to work outside of the box and to be more creative, being able to take risks. This will result in employees feeling motivated to work harder. I hope that my project was in some way helpful and informative. Overall, I thank you for taking the time to watch my presentation.